Hey, welcome to ELL 203, and guess what? Big news! We have a new sponsor! And that is Zippix Toothpicks. Yes, Zippix nicotine toothpicks, FDA registered, created in 1993 in a pharmacy. This is a product I am very excited about, and let me tell you a little bit about it. So, this is something to take care of a little bit of those cravings. If you are really big into smoking, into chewing, whatever else, this is a perfect nicotine alternative. They got 6 different flavors. Because it's a toothpick, you still have that hand-to-mouth feel like you would with a cigarette. You're going to have fresher breath. You're going to have whiter teeth. You're not going to have people pissed off at you because you're exhaling clouds of smoke. Your clothes aren't going to stink. And you can also control how much you're going to get because you're chewing it, you're sucking it. You're going to pay less than for regular cigarettes, either dip or chew, especially if you're in LA or New York where they're really reaming you over the cost of cigarettes. And subscriptions are available. Keep them coming in the door without you worrying about it. And best part, you can use the promo code LION to get 10% off your order. So go to zippixtoothpicks.com. That is ZIPPIX toothpicks.com. And get them before the holiday party season, fellows and Fellowettes, that's a term I'm bringing into lexicon. Anyway, if you're like your old pal Brian, when you get to holiday drinking and partying, that's when you want that smoke. So make sure to visit zippixtoothpicks.com today.
Welcome to Electric Liberty Land, here on the Lions of Liberty podcast, your weekly shot of culture, comedy, and liberty with your host, Brian McWilliams.
Hey, what do you say, everybody? Yeah, Zippix Toothpicks. I'm actually super pumped. I can't wait. I'm excited to chew them. And also, a shout out. Want to give a quick shout out to Buck over at the Death to Tyrants podcast, who had put them in touch with us. Thank you, Buck. If you guys aren't familiar with that show, definitely check it out. Great guy, great podcast. I know he's attracting a lot of followers, more so by the day. So make sure to check out Death to Tyrants podcast. Now, I'm going to bring in a guest for today's show, actually a comedian that I really enjoy talking to. And it's kind of funny, one of those people who had reached out to me after seeing my status updates and kind of, follows along and say, we're on the same page here, brother. But before I bring on Mr. Shefsky, who's going to be joining me, I want to give you a quick update on Schneider Watch. There is no update on Schneider Watch as of this week. Yeah, I'm still waiting for her to get back to me and confirm a fucking date. So, don't bug him yet. There may come a day soon, by the way, where I will once again raise the armies of Mordor and say it's time for another directed campaign on social media at Mr. Schneider. But that time has not yet come. Anyway, let's get into the real show here with my buddy, Jon Shefsky. Yeah, man, you just asked, for those who don't know or weren't listening or maybe edit it out. Yeah, yes, how I've been. I'm fine. Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. Like last show I did, I was talking about, I was like super depressed because I just was like, I don't know, everything was just getting me down, pissing me off. Like work sucked, because I do PR. I couldn't get any bookings because everybody's talking about election shit nonstop. And just the election itself is annoying me. Like everything just, the COVID's weighing on me. So yeah, it's rough, man. I mean, how have you been?
All things considered, I'm good now. I mean, the at the very beginning, when I say like the first month of the pandemic was like awful for me. I'm normally like pretty optimistic. I don't let most.
Yeah, you're an upbeat guy.
I'm an upbeat guy, and like, dude, most stuff is not that big of a deal. Like if financial stuff doesn't work out, if prestigious stuff, that goals that you have don't happen. The Broncos lost. Like I don't give a shit. I don't cry about stuff. You ask my wife, like, oh, the air conditioning doesn't work? Okay, well, I'll learn to sleep in the heat for the next week until it gets fixed. Like, I just don't get bummed. But when like life or death, or when people start going like, hey, Mad Max lifestyle's on its way, I'm like, okay, I'm having major issions with that. So it's just like feast or famine.
See, on that side though, I'm honestly to the point where I'm almost rooting for Mad Max lifestyle to just happen. Like I know I have a kid. You've got kids.
Yeah, I got 2 kids. You got
Well, have you started to train them? I mean, that's on you, man. If you're not training your kids in at least knife fighting, I don't know what's wrong with you.
That's I try. I teach them from real estate. I'm like, hey, here's how you negotiate. You give them some of the fuel, but trade them for water. No, dude, I think like the romantic version of like Mad Max is like that alpha male linguistic part of people's brains is like adventure, cool, awesome.
Yeah, totally.
But like it's like reading about like war and thinking about war like from a G.I. Joe playing kids perspective. It's like it's a lot different like when you're like watching someone get raped or like when you're like having your throat slit and slowly dying. Like those are like experiences like I'm cool. I don't need that shit in my book. Thanks.
Dude, I seriously had the same thing. Like when I was younger, I was like, oh, maybe. Yeah, I feel like I missed out. All these other generations accomplished something great. They went to war. I'm like, where's my war? What's going to make me into a man? And now I'm older. I'm like, what was I thinking? I don't want to go to war. I just want to sit around, watch Netflix. I want to eat shitty food from In-N-Out Burger. Like, I don't want to be going to war. I don't need to be shot at.
Yeah, no, I'll create the interesting times. I'm competitive with myself. That's enough of an interesting time for me. I just want to beat my own goals and leave me alone. I'm the guy that played Grand Theft Auto and never played a mission, but was always like, ooh, what would happen if I try to drive this car like off the pier or drive up this truck thing and steal a helicopter? Like, I don't need anybody else's like weird goals. And linguistically, it sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, it's good. So you have an independent mind, which brings us back to why we're talking, man. First off, let me introduce you officially. So Jon Shefsky here, or Tomaszewski. Tomaszewski, how do you say your full name? You go by Shefsky, though.
I go by Shefsky because Ralphie May convinced me years ago to shorten it to Shefsky to make it easier for everyone. Meanwhile, everyone's still just like, how do you pronounce your shortened last name? I'm like, shit. Ralphie, why didn't you tell me to go with Jeff?
Well, then it's just confusing, though. Then you have to go a whole, I think then you have to go kind of a prop comedy route where you're always tying it into foods in some way. Very confusing. You could have been the Gallagher of our generation, but I don't know. Somehow
I would not complain.
Real estate. Yeah.
Oh,
so John and I know each other because I used to run for many years. Me and my buddy Matt Neal ran a comedy show, Comedy Ahoy.
Awesome comedy show.
Right?
One of the best ones.
And actually, I'm trying to bring it back. I might try to bring it back mid-December, but it's just... I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't know what the hell's going on with COVID. So, but you and I were, we met each other in that scene, and I always thought you were, very funny, very likable guy. And then you got into real estate, which is funny on its own right. And then I didn't realize you got into real estate until I saw one of your videos. John's going through, and these are like videos you put out, right? They're like out in the world, 2 clients that could buy these houses. He walks through these houses and he's just making cracks. He's making jokes, not all of which are completely appropriate, but they're certainly fucking funny. And then you started a podcast. This has got to be a couple years old now, right? But Fantasy House, where you bring in comedians and you bait and switched me, tried to get me on Fantasy House, lured me into conversations about libertarianism and how you were coming around to some of my viewpoints, and then never booked me on the actual podcast. And
I've just been like super slammed. You're going to be on the podcast. Come on now. Don't you publicly making me feel like I bait and switched you. How dare you? I would rather you come on my podcast than me go on your podcast. I had to prepare for your podcast.
That's right. Goddamn right. You
give me homework.
Prepare for yours. The whole concept of Fantasy House, it's a funny concept. It's basically your fantasy. Walk us through it because I have to prepare. I have to mentally lay out a house.
Dude, I absolutely. So I used to do a crime podcast with my buddy Rich Slayton, and it was growing in success like incredibly, and it was really amazing. And we met a lot of cool people, and we started building a fan base, and it was awesome. But the thing about me is, I don't want to be reading about crime. I'm in my late 30s now. I'm not 14 anymore reading Silence of the Lambs. Like, how did people get murdered? Like, I don't want to think about negative stuff. I don't want to hear about people being bad and naughty. And
did you start dreaming about it, envision yourself through the killer's eyes type of thing?
Well, when I first started the podcast with Rich, he's like, I listened to like boring intellectual. I listened to like Sam Harris and like Part of the Problem and like just boring old people podcasts, right? Yeah. And Slayton was like, hey, let's make this podcast about crime. It'll be like The Dollop or Last Podcast on the Left. So I start listening to those podcasts to see what he's talking about. And it is absolutely nightmarish. Like, I love Last Podcast on the Left. They're hilarious. Henry Zebrowski's great, but they're just talking about the most disgusting, awful things that I'm like, I don't want to download that shit into my hard drive. So when Slayton got a job working on a game show, esports network, right? He's like the Joe Rogan of like video game stuff right now.
That's awesome.
So he got pulled away from it, and he was like, hey, you can keep doing crime by yourself right now while I'm working on this thing. And I was like, I'm actually going to start doing my Fantasy House thing. So it's its own weird niche. I don't know what to even say, but it's basically like, imagine MTV Cribs, but in a limitless like cartoon Rick and Morty kind of universe. So every guest comes up, I guess, give them like an onboarding outline. I'm like, here's a guide, come up with a crazy fantasy house.
Good. So that's good. So at least there's a general build out that I can follow here.
Yeah. So I give you the onboarding like thing to help prep you. And then like, dude, people have been pushing the limits. Like Jeremiah Watkins had like, we did a Halloween themed episode and his toilet paper dispenser in every bathroom is a mummy that you unwrap to wipe your butt with.
Yeah,
and like,
that was literally the example I was going to use. I listened to Watkins just a few weeks ago. And I mean, you got some pretty good names on there too. I mean, and Watkins has blown up. I mean, since he was on my show years ago, he's gotten huge. I mean,
he's huge.
Through the roof. He's on Legion of Skanks all the time. I think he has his own comedy special coming out. Yeah, he's really blown up.
Yeah. So, I mean, but also not just comics, dude. I have friends. I just had my buddy, I haven't released the episode yet, but my buddy Gabe Munoz, who's a veteran and like just an awesome dude. He's a tattoo artist I've known for like 20 years. And he's just a dear friend. Mm-hmm. And usually I do have to talk in like regular people. Like comics are like, I'll be on the podcast. Regular people, you have to be like, hey, do you want to do my show? And they'll be like, oh, I don't know if I could do a podcast. I'm like, I'm going to walk you through it. And sometimes, dude, they are the best guests. Because they don't take it for granted.
Why do you think that is? Just because they're more on? They're not going to go for bits. They're going for like legit shit that they just are scared to admit in public, but somehow you'll lure them into saying it.
There's a little bit of that, but I think there's a little bit of them being intimidated that like, oh, John's got like some famous comics, that like are well known and have been on the show. Ian Edwards has been on it. Like Steve Simone's been on it. Tony Hinchcliffe, like all these names. So they know them. Oh, nice. They're not comics, and they're like, oh fuck, like I can't be on that show. And I'm like, yes, you can. Just bring it. I give that little nudge. Yeah. Just bring it. And then they get so creative.
About comics is that comedians are just regular people with substance abuse issues and deep depression.
That's right.
And it just comes out in strange ways. And once you realize that, you're not intimidated anymore.
And we take the limelight for granted a lot of times, especially if you've been in the industry for 10 plus years. Yeah. So sometimes it's harder to get a comic to do the homework. They'll be like, oh, I just got off a plane. I'm tired. What are we doing on this podcast again? Right.
Right. Yeah.
So I had my lender on, Cole, and he's like, he's like, there's these tubes like the bank has, where they suck you up and it's like, there are these friendship tubes and you get sucked into these things and you go and you bond with your friend. And he's like getting super psychedelic and weird. And it's like, dude, half of the comics aren't even getting this creative, but he wanted to bring it because he knew the pros are doing it. So it's actually nice to have non-entertainers on because
I'm very interested in this
how hard they try.
Tube concept. I don't know how that do you get mushed together at the center of the tubes. I mean, I was thinking, what's in tubes? My mind instantly went like an entire room of fleshlights, and the walls are just fleshlights, and you just roll around it. Not that and I've never used one, but I kind of would want that in a house. An entire room where the walls are cocaine. I mean, it's like these are the things that you need to see in your fantasy house. I think
Sam Tripoli did have a full cocaine room, like the bricks were made out of cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's a good idea. I mean,
he also had
and the worst part of having that room though is when eventually you're like, well, I'm gonna have to get my contractor back because I'm out of bricks, and it'll happen.
That's the story of Sam's life too. I'm clean right now. He's the only guy I know that actually downloaded one of those porn blockers for their telephone. Yeah, dude, he definitely does go back and forth with that shit. He also had a bathroom that was a giant swimming pool. I was like, so take us to your bathroom. He's like, oh, it's just a pool, bro. You just go in the pool and shit. I was like, oh my God. I love making this show.
I like it. That's good.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited.
And then it's just you train fish to swim around with like the little scoopers in their mouths. You flip the script on the fish. Those like the pool cleaners that you use for the fish tank to scoop out the shit? They just swim with them in their mouths.
Dude, Brian, you don't have to really adapt. Don't you know there's shit eaters is actually a kind of fish?
Oh, I didn't know that. Do they live inside your body if you train them properly?
I'm just joking. That's disgusting. Oh God, shit eaters that live inside your body.
You gotta be so excited. Like the kangaroo fish, but it swims up your ass and eats the shit.
Oh, is that the one that goes up your urethra? Are you talking about the kangaroo fish?
Yeah, that's one that swims up right up there when you're urinating in the Nile.
I don't even like peeing in a regular pool because of that fish. That's terrifying.
All right, well, let's get into some topics applicable to this show. So, I know we're on a little limited time basis here, but let me hear about kind of like where you're at. Where do you look at? You see the landscape, and you had reached out to me because you said, I'm kind of agreeing with a lot of the stuff you're posting here, and you're kind of seeing what I'm putting on Facebook. And I'm guessing at this point you at least listened to a couple pods to prep, if nothing else. So, where are you at, man? I mean, have you seen an evolution in kind of how you are politically, or where you see the world and kind of where the left-right divide is, or even where individual thinking versus cult mentality is?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a big question. That's open-ended. Well, when I hit you up, I mean, first of all, one of the things that I love is I don't think of myself. I think like Ryan Long, the comedian, when people go like, what are you politically?
I'm
like,
he's been on the show. Yeah. Love Ryan.
Oh dude, he's genius. I'm so glad he's blowing up right now. But like when he, so he made a joke in one of his recent episodes, like people trying to shame him for not picking a certain political side, which is just like the most juvenile bullshit anyways. Right. And that tribalism is so terrifying in our society nowadays, where you can say like, well, I'm still thinking, and I'm not judging anyone, and I want to see, and people be like, you need to pick a side right now. It's like, that's not the point of reason. That's terrifying, right? So I feel like him though, in that way, where it's like, not that I agree with all of his political beliefs, but when he says like, people are like, what are you politically? Are you a Democrat or Republican? I'm a comedian. I'm a human being. My father-in-law joked once, he's like, you're such a fucking hippie. But I was like, I don't want to be labeled. Like when people ask about spirituality and they go like, well, what do you believe? It's like, well, some days I wake up and I feel like there's a higher power that might even be a personified, like biblical style higher power. And some days I wake up and go, no, this could all be some weird math equation. In reality, something I could never explain. And it's okay to fluctuate. That Amazon, like consumer, like, practical like category thing. People are so brainwashed to think that you have to pick something and always stick to it forever. They do it for politicians. They'll be like, they switched platforms. They'll be like, yeah, they changed their mind. It's actually very fucking normal to change your mind. Yeah. So I'm not a libertarian. I'm a romantic libertarian. So what that means to me is like, I, in my heart, believe in libertarian values and want to live in a libertarian society. I don't practically think it's possible right now in our world. And I don't think like the switch over that like when I listen to like Dave Smith, for example, I'm sure we both listen to Part of the Problem. Yeah. You know, he's passionate. He's a smart enough guy, but there's some blind spots that I'm just like, dude, the ideology of just like, if we just change everything, right? It's like the people saying like, just get rid of the cops and all these problems will start. Like new problems that you're not even thinking about right now will arise because you're changing all of the pH balance in the equation. So I love libertarian values, and one of the things that trips me out so much, and tell me if I'm rambling and you need to interrupt, because I could see.
I want to let you. Well, I left it open ended. I'm going to let you ramble for a bit, and then I'll come back and provide my own insight.
Do you have a virtual assistant writing down what I'm saying? Because after an hour, you're like, "What did John say? I wanted to say something." Was there a note?
It's actually the same fish that swims up your dick. I've trained to take notes. So there's got a little BlackBerry in there, and then I just go and I jerk off after the episode. Out he comes, and I get my notes.
Oh, dude! I found my dick fish on Fiverr, and he changed my life. He changed my life. I can't do this. I got to scale my business. You got to get a dick fish.
Check out dickfish.com.
Dickfish.com. Your fantasy house will have dick fish. But one of the things that fascinated me, just in, you know, I'm a peaceful guy. I have a lot of libertarian values. I love freedom of speech. I think is essential in a free society. I think right to bear arms. You know, I'm a big I love Killer Mike. I love the fact that he's a Bernie lover, but he loves guns and he's a capitalist and he's smart.
Bernie himself used to be a big Second Amendment guy, and he kind of toned it down, you know, this election cycle. But he'd always been a pretty strident defender of Second Amendment rights.
I always feel like people like Bernie. I'm like, if you guys would stop being such fucking fearmongers with the gun stuff, you could win over a lot of the assholes on the other side that are scared that you're just gonna. My grandpa was always, you know, I'm a very white trash Jew. My grandpa was always like a super gun nut. I have that in my blood. I fucking love guns. I grew up around them. I love shooting, and I love the right to bear arms. Is like I think it's essential to a free society, and I don't care if other countries have gotten rid of their guns and they think it's better. I'm like, no, we should have guns here. If anything, the Pandias showed us like. I should be able to
exactly, man. Well, there's like certain steps that keep taking, you know, in all these countries that you see collapse quickly, there's certain steps that are taken, you know, they take away your guns, they take away your freedom of speech, they undermine your monetary supply. And we're seeing it all happen in America, which is like very terrifying. And
it's weird.
Know, it's just, and you look at the acceleration of all these different things. And again, it's bringing it out in the open, and just going back to like what you're saying about libertarian ideals and like being a romantic libertarian. I feel like that's the way, like, you know, there's different libertarian caucuses, you know, there's the Mises caucus who I align with, but that's
so funny to say.
Anarcho-capitalist. Yeah.
Mises caucus.
Mises caucus.
Yeah.
It sounds like fucking what Jar Jar Binks would say, you know?
Or like, it reminds me like a Rick and Morty character, like Meeseeks or something like that. The Mises caucus. Totally. I always think of like Mr. a weird, like, there's Mr. Poopy Butthole, there's the Meeseeks, and there's the Mises caucus. And like, he just pops out of like weird holes in the wall.
We should own that. Get some memes pumping out there for the caucus. I'll talk to the Caucus guys. They'll get involved with this.
Talk us to the caucus.
but you hit the nail on the head, though, is that some of the stuff, like you talk about in theory, but obviously, and I think people have to admit that, and I've talked a little bit about this before too, is like, you know, when we're talking to people, just yelling taxation is theft at them, or just yelling like, you know, we can do this all private, people don't get it. And it's not something they can accept, and it definitely won't work when you flip a switch. And, you know, you have to have a culture that accepts it or can get along with those ideals. And you kind of have to ease into things, which is why with any libertarian ideal or candidate, if you're talking to people, I think it has to be a conversation about how you gradually can take those back. You can still say this is the end goal, Because it's like that whole concept of if you don't go for the far ranging, I mean, look at the left. They're like, we want to tear down the buildings and rebuild them with nature friendly styrofoam made of Ewok fur, whatever the fuck.
Dude, it's so scary. It's so scary. I mean, this is exactly what I love about not having a side is that I can like, I'm part of the reason group or whatever they want to call it. Is talking to you and seeing that. I wish more people would do that because that's one of the weirdest things that I've noticed now is that you're a Nazi or you're a bad like I can't tell you how many people that I know that are great leftists because I have friends that are like just far leftist, almost gone. Where I'm like, man, you're almost gone, but they're great people. They're smart, and they think of libertarians as like these evil like white supremacists. And I'm like, do you know any libertarians? I was like, I have like 20 libertarian in real estate. I've got libertarian friends in comedy. I've got and I'm like, these people agree with you on most of the major stuff that you're complaining about. War. They're peaceful people. They don't want war. They're against the industrial prison complex. They want to legalize drugs. Most of them are not racist. They don't like police overreach or government overreach. Yeah. And they're some of the most charitable people I know.
For years. Yeah.
Some of the most charitable people I know are extreme conservatives. In my life, I've had, asshole, handlebar mustache, gun-toting dudes that have wild sense of humor that you might say, or they're so evil because they say the wrong jokes, but they are family people that love their gay kid, respect people's opinions. They just want they want people they believe in charity in their own way. And I'm not saying it's the right way that society will work out. We might need to have, that's why I say I'm romantic about it. We might need to have a collective charity pot and a bunch of taxes. I don't know. But I want to bridge the gap the way Rogan does with bros. You know how he gets meatheads to talk about psychedelics and meatheads to talk about listen to a Graham Hancock interview. Yeah. I feel like we need that social politically with people too, is to be like, hey, check. And I think it's happening too. I think we might have crossed the point of the insanity.
I don't know, man. I mean, I kind of hope so too. Like every day I wake up and even this morning I'm walking down the street and I'm like listening to podcasts. I had to turn podcasts off because I had to listen to music. I had to mentally reset. But I find myself torn between those two realities of, okay, are we going the right direction? And I think this is why for me, the election stuff, and we'll talk a little bit about where, what you think's happened in the election, but the election stuff for me, even though it looks like probably Trump's going to lose, but I was rooting for Trump to win over Biden because he aligns more, ironically, with what I view as advancements for libertarians,
I understand that.
Because it just seems like for what the left is doing, especially because the left's completely given up on being anti-war. They're no longer anti-war. They don't give a shit. They're this establishment. And it terrifies me. But hold on. Well, I'll let you talk in a sec. But getting back to the main point is I worry now. I look back and I see the violence that happens. You have rallies, you have violence, you have Antifa out there. You've got riots constantly. They're now being accepted. You have political violence. And there was some poll that said 60% of people polled thought that political violence was more acceptable and they're okay with it now. And that
they don't even know what they're answering on these polls. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Go on.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
People don't even know anymore.
They probably has some leading question, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, I would if I would accept violence if it was." They're probably like, "Oh well, wait a minute, a white supremacist is raping a black chick." I'm a guy, probably something like that. But at the same time, I have to think that people are. Kind of I sent you that link on Bill Maher calling the woke left out and saying this is madness. I have to think that some people, or the majority of people, are gravitating more towards that let's talk, this has gone too far mentality. What do you think about that?
Well, first off, I think that I love when I see that. When I see any adult, I call them adult liberals versus hysterical liberals. So I have some very close loved ones that are hysterical liberals, and I love them. But I look at them like I look at anybody else, like the way I look at Donald Trump, for example, where I say, I don't hate you. You've done things that are I'm not bad and whatnot. I feel very Buddhist, where I'm just like, I hold no harbor against you, but get the fuck away from the driver's seat. I don't want you touching the steering wheel. Yeah. So I feel that way about certain people in our society. So I'm not mad. I don't like to see people suffer. I'm not like, I cut his head off. I can't wait to see him suffer. I'm just like, just get him out of the driver's seat is how I feel about him. And I feel the same way about hysterical liberal friends. I'm just like, you're not ready to make real decisions yet. But adult liberals will say hey, there's what did Matt Damon say? There was a difference between Harvey Weinstein and Louis C.K. and he got lambasted or whatever. And it was no, he was actually correct. He was showing some sort of relativity and looking at the details. And so when that's not shown in the regular hysterical liberal movement, it's scary. But what's scariest about that is that it's kind of grown like a cancer when it went from this fringe liberal thing. And I think the same thing happened on the conservative side too. I think we can blame social media for this, but
for sure.
It became like more and more accepted to be like hysterical liberal, infiltrating the adult liberal. So that's why you've got all these like college professors like, hey, like my college, the Weinstein guys, and like all that weird shit that you're like, that seems kind of scary that would happen. I thought that was only just like stuck in like some certain weird circles, because the people that I know that are that hysterical liberals are their heart's in the right place. They're good human beings, but they're in no place to make any decisions. And they are so delusional right now with like, our society is hell and it's the worst thing ever. And they have this like, we got to tear it down thing that for me, stepping back, being like, I love people so much and I'm so liberal that I don't think we should be tearing the boat apart while we're floating at sea. Dude, like, you don't just destroy us. Like, have you read any books? Do you know about power vacuums? Like, what's the percentage of success that you destroy a society and that you get a better ruler in there or a better government in there? Actually, statistically, usually it goes worse.
Remember, like Egypt. I mean, just look at Egypt. Let's look at like any of these South American countries this stuff happens in. It always is worse. And
man,
the U.S. That's why again, I'm so big on the war state and stopping that, because every time we go in there, we fund people. We give the terrorists weapons. The terrorists get in there and overthrow whoever, and then it gets instantly worse. But then also, like you're saying, like this concept of the Great Reset. It's been like people are saying, "Oh, that's a conspiracy theory," but then you do have Justin Trudeau on a national address.
I heard about that. Yeah.
It's on Canadian television talking about how the COVID has given us an opportunity to have a great reset. And you go, was that a slip of the tongue? I mean, what the fuck is going on here? Because you don't want society to collapse. We all have too much to lose. Like Americans,
totally.
We all have too much to lose. The poorest of us have way too much to lose. They still do. You don't have how poor you are.
It's too easy. Like our lives are too good, even with the stats and the bad stuff that's happening with police brutality. If you look at the statistics, you read Steven Pinker, you check out some of the who's the guy that wrote The Future is Faster Than You Think. Like if you really look at the stats of how good things are, we can be the reason that we destroy the potential for an awesome present and future by whining and complaining, where it's like, are you so comfortable that you're going to say that we like, I've literally had comedian friends tell me like, we live in a dystopia right now, John. I'm like,
your dystopia.
I was outside.
What are you talking to me on right now? Your video phone. This is like, we had Star Trek. We're looking at Star Trek, and that we weren't supposed to have these things for another 300 years. We've got video phones right now. Everybody's getting their food. Everybody's perfectly happy. We're driving
Great
around.
Example.
We're flying through. It's madness to think this. And I mean, and you teed on like social media. I mean, for me, social media, even though it's useful at times, it is the greatest evil I think has ever existed. It's bad. Ruining people's brains. Turning people on each other. Yeah, it's horrible. And I mean, like, how often are you on social media? Would you say a day?
I'm on it. So after saying it's so bad, I'm on it all the time because I do so much business on social media.
Of course, yeah.
I post real estate videos all the time. I post stats. If I do research for a client, I kill two birds. I do the research for my client, then I make a video on the research real quick, put it online, because when I do that, people constantly say like, oh, they email me, they're like, hey John, my wife and I are thinking about buying a house, or my father-in-law wants to sell his house. Can you help us out? Because I posted that video, and then I told one of my friends, I was like, I want to get away from social media, but I feel like I need to do it for work. She's like, no, there's enough negative stuff on social media. Keep putting positive, good stuff on there so that people mixing in some sexiness in with the rest of the doom scrolling or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good point, is like trying to put more positivity out there. And I thought about that, for this podcast was supposed to be, like we were talking about, reaching across the aisle. Like when I started it, I had these pie in the sky aspirations. Like I'm going to make it nice and funny and approachable libertarians. And then I'm just out here fucking screaming and cursing and getting angry.
Because you need therapy, dog. Me too. This is our therapy.
It really is. It's my cathartic moment of like, laying it all out in line. But, there is a lot to be said about trying to make, and especially like, when it comes to like libertarianism or ideals that kind of go by reason. That's why Ryan Long is so great. That's why, like, it sucked. Like Lou Perez, are you familiar with him from We the Internet TV?
I know of him, but I'm not familiar with him.
So he made great videos. They're basically just kind of like Ryan Long, straight down the line, just showcasing both sides. You're being hysterical. You're being idiots. Like, let's just call a spade and talk reason here. And unfortunately, he's now closed that and he's doing something else. But we need more stuff like that, especially for reason-centric people, just to point out the logical fallacies, because you have, on the one side, you got Republicans, conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory, some of which I might agree with, frankly. And then you've got the Democrats, like you said, saying we're in a dystopian future, that Trump's an authoritarian, meanwhile threatening to take away our free speech and take away guns and take away all these things and censor people.
Yeah.
I mean, the question is, how do you get that out? Like in the era of tech censorship, how would you get that message out? Like, do you feel like you can still resonate with a message like that?
I
or does it get
personally do
nonsense?
Well, I think like if you're expecting to have a Gandhi like impact, then I mean that might be like just I have
being
to have
a
more
sexual
patience.
Predator, because that's what the left
is that the Gandhi
is now. They've gone after Gandhi.
That's funny. The left is so busy like eating themselves, and they're like the gothic kid just cutting themselves. You're like, hey, we got like this is one of my biggest things with the left that's bothered me, because my wife and I always talk about it. Like, we think of ourselves as liberals, like we're just liberal people in general, right? Yeah. And it's so crazy to think like how the hysterical leftists taking over the liberal side, and they're two different things. I think Dennis Prager had a video about it to try to explain to conservatives. Thankfully, he did that. I don't agree with everything that guy fucking says. Sometimes he drives me up a wall. But he did a video that was really good, saying like, "Hey, just so you conservatives, my fellow conservatives know, like, don't think all liberals are leftists." And I was like, "Thank you, Dennis, for pointing that out." Yeah, very cool of him. But I think the leftists have done this weird thing where, you know this in your life. You're a successful human being. I run my business. Okay, listen, you got a microphone and the camera quality is great. This is obviously a decent.
It is a great camera quality. I suppose I have a house in LA. I can't be doing that poorly, right?
Those pictures behind you, they're almost framed.
They've got thumbtacks. It's not just tape.
In order to survive, even from a primal, if you were living in a hut in the Saharas, in order to survive, you have to be able to prioritize, right? So if you have a worm crawling to your foot on one side and you have a lion coming to you from your left side, you have to be able to decide like, that's a fire I got to put out as that lion, right? Mm-hmm. And hysterical leftists are running around screaming and crying about everything. Like, you can't even, one of my best friends, I can't even have a discussion with her about certain things because she literally will stop me and be like, that's not what that word means. And I'll be like, oh my God, you're like, not only, you have a great point, but it's another discussion. We're talking about something much more important. So they have this weird thing where they're obsessed with like, they want to play that game with everything. And it's like, dude, children are actually starving. Real people are being raped. I don't mean someone gave a blowjob that they regret. I mean, someone is being held down and fucked right now. And we don't have the energy to help them because you're whining that someone pinched your ass once 5 years ago at a crappy job that you worked. And it's like, you're not on the same par. Like, I know a kid that was raped when they were 4. Like, that person is in a different spot on the Venn diagram level than you are because your butt got pinched and you felt like you didn't have the power at your job. These are two different things. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't address your problem, but while you're making the phone call to get so-and-so's Twitter taken down because they made a racy joke, there's a real warmonger right now that is releasing drone strikes on somebody. And you're not spending that time writing to that congressperson or even rallying up troops to take care of that mess, because you're rallying up your troops to have Matt Damon take down his post about Louis C.K. Yeah. And so the prioritizing thing is what my wife and I think Sam Harris had a quote where he said, like, we'll be arguing gender pronouns as the world goes up in smoke or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's what's scary to me, is like, I'm worried about like the Amazon being fully destroyed, or like a Jane Goodall preservation project being non-funded, and like a large group of intelligent primates just being poached and killed.
At the same time, we are really nipping the whole guerrilla revolution in the bud there.
Are we okay? Well, but we could go back to it. But I'm just trying to give a good example of where I think the important parts of being a liberal come in, and where the parts we need to say, hey, that's not a priority right now. Like the appropriation argument for like Halloween costumes. Oh yeah. People have tried to say that that's blown out of proportion, and like you're making that's an old story. I literally just had a friend of mine tell me something, because I posted something about Diwali, the Indian ceremony, that she can't celebrate it because she doesn't want to appropriate. And I'm just like, what? First of all, I don't believe in identity politics. I want to live in a post-racial world where, like Martin Luther King said, where like you're black, I'm Jewish, I'm trans, I'm this, whatever. We're just human beings, and we share that.
We've made. And sorry to interrupt you, but like, I mean,
no, it's okay. Please interrupt me. I need that.
Dude,
I'm asking for it.
The whole concept of like, we're moving into this road, and Bill Maher was talking about this too on that clip I sent through. Talking about how we've gone from colorblind. That's what I grew up with. You and I are about the same age. I think you're a couple years younger than me, but
I'm 64.
Colorblind. So what's that?
Yep. We're both 64? Okay, cool.
Yes, exactly. When I'm 64. Yeah, man. But, we grew up colorblind. Everybody's the same. Don't view skin color. It was fine. Grew up.
Yeah, I had black and female heroes since I was a kid, too, by the way. Ripley from Aliens.
Exactly.
Like,
true. Yeah. And yet now we're told you have to see color. You can't view everybody the same way. It's the most important thing in the world. And to the point you were saying, too, I wanted to expound on this a little bit. talking about not only prioritization, but it seems like the left is so focused on either micro or macro to the point where, and not macro like you're talking about big picture war, not things that really are impactful, but macro to the point where it's like either, somebody pinched my ass, or somebody, we can no longer read a book with rape without giving a trigger warning, to this big picture of, like I said, the new Green Deal, or like we have to revamp society and we have to have reparations for all this shit. It's like these big picture things that are never going to fucking happen, but that's all they can talk about in addition to the micro, and they're missing this massive swath of very important shit in the middle.
Yeah. They won't talk about, I mean, one of the greatest examples, I think, is the super brave speaker, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She's been through female genital mutilation. And if your listeners are listening, and if they don't know what that is, I mean, that's circumcision from a woman. So for me, I was circumcised. I had a bris. I don't fault my parents. I didn't make my two boys have them because I don't believe in that shit. But for me, I still have great orgasms. Life's fine. I'm busting nuts left and right.
Your wife is like, he has great orgasms.
Well, she has way better orgasms than I do. And not because of me, just because she's got that female energy. She's allowed to. But for those of listeners that don't know, female genital mutilation, when someone is a female circumcised, they cut the woman's clit off. Yeah. And that is something that, to me, I think it's more important to talk about that, even if someone's going to get offended because, don't offend someone's culture. I could get a culture is decided, right? Some are better than others, right?
But she's been ostracized from. I mean, the leftists consider her like verboten, like she's been canceled. And
that's a great example. It's a great example because the people on the far left, the hysterical leftists, not regular intelligent liberals, okay, that have patience and really want to live in a liberal society, but the fascist leftists that are hysterical just hear some key words, just like the far right people do. They hear a key word and they're triggered. And they just go, no, alarm. And part of that you can blame on all the crazy conservative parents that raise their kids badly and have been assholes to their gay kids for the past 200 years or whatever, and have not understood simple like race relations of like, black guy comes into town, he must be awful, we have to lynch him, or he can't be around
Rambo, watch out.
Yeah. So in a way, like, again, like as Lincoln said, like they're just us under different circumstances. Who do you blame about this? I don't know. It's been a fucking domino effect since the beginning of time. So whose fault is it? I mean, I don't know, but it's still, it is weird that the left seems to be concerned about these things, but they're impeding actual liberal progress because they're hysterical. Completely. And it's like, you just shut up people that are actually on your side that like want to defend women in like Saudi Arabia, or maybe Saudi Arabia is a bad example, but harsh, theocratic Islamic
one
countries.
One of our closest allies who still like to stone people to death and kill women for having sex with somebody outside their marriage.
Well, on a lighter note, I think United Arab Emirates, who's been making big changes, right, with Israel and with their own laws. They just made it like legal to drink in private, which is, even though it might seem silly to us, to them, that's great. And then there was a couple other things that they like loosened up regulations on that should have been loosened up, 100 years ago. But there's progress. We have to have patience, Brian. That's my thing. Is like the revolution is an evolution. Now, if we destroy the boat while it's at sea, I don't think anyone's going to win. And statistically, it'll be a power vacuum. And like, do you want Putin taken over? Do you want fucking China to run the world? No. Do you want Iran to run the world? No. We need to be calm and like fight for the right, but realize like it's going to take time, and we need to take deep breaths when we think our neighbor's homophobic. Like, learn.
And especially considering the fact, so libertarianism is really at its core only about, I think we could say
12 minutes old,
50. I mean, in the overall scheme of things, I mean, it's ultra young as a party. Hello, everybody. A quick moment to thank a sponsor and friends of our show, Defund the Politicians and MischiefTheory.com. So MischiefTheory.com has a goal of getting money out of politics, and they want to raise awareness around the fact that politicians are legally taking millions in anonymous dollars from corporate and special interest bribes. So no matter how your politics falls, no matter which side of the election you might be on, whether you voted for Joe, Biden, or Trump, you should get behind this cause. Because this is something that really crosses over political divides, gets these crony capitalists out of there. Defund the Politicians is the thing to think of. They've got awesome shirts with the little Defund the Politician Shaka Bro, as well as some other hip designs. They've also got some coffee mugs. They've got some coffee cups, like travel cups. They've got water bottles for your yoga needs, etc. Check them out. Get 50% off with the code MONEY at MischiefTheory.com. All right, let's get back into the show. Check them out. They're good peeps. And I think maybe we do get wrapped up in the fact that we say, nothing's going our way. And I talk about this, how it's depressing being a libertarian or somebody of libertarian mindset, because you look around, it's just loss after loss after loss. But to your point, maybe it is something where we have to look at the long game and say people are going to get sick of this. And I talked about this as a concept, and let me know what do you think about this. Cancel culture, which I hate. I'm completely against it. Outrage culture, left versus right mentality and all this thing like playing up. And it's unbelievably evil. But I thought to myself, you know what? Yep. What's actually going to help libertarianism or help logical, reasonable thinking up the middle is if we accelerate cancel culture to the point where people are getting canceled so fast, so viciously, that everybody's just losing soldiers on both sides. And everybody goes, hold on. No more of this shit. No more canceling. Because it's like one of those things where if we have it, like, it's like the boiling frog. If people are slowly getting canceled, then you kind of accept it, right? Okay, somebody here, somebody there. Oh, well, that person probably deserved. Oh, Alex Jones. Okay, well, he says crazy shit. Okay, Alex Jones. If we get it super quick.
Yep. Sorry, I
I agree. But the faster it is, the more vicious it is. Like people try to cancel Chris Pratt because Chris Pratt didn't go to a Biden event. That kind of shit.
What happened to him?
He became religious, right? He married into did he marry
Schwarzenegger's family?
Schwarzenegger's daughter? Yeah, the Schwarzenegger family. So
aren't they big time Democrats though?
They're big time Democrats. Well, I know. Well, Schwarzenegger was Republican. Now he's very anti-Trump. But I'd say they're still like probably conservative religiously, but liberal probably in a lot of the way they think. So he married into that, became more religious, and probably doesn't align with a lot of the anti-abortion stuff that the or the pro-abortion stuff the left has. Probably just as far as breaking up family values, or like BLM specifically says they want to break up the nuclear family. Probably not on board with that.
Yeah.
So
who is?
He doesn't go to a Biden event with the other Avengers, and it's cancel Chris Pratt's trending all over. And people,
I was wondering why that happened. That's so funny.
That's why, man. So what do you think about that concept, though?
Well, I from my own singular biological organism view of things, is it a perspective? It's just one dude's perspective. But I respect, like, I love Chappelle. I love Rogan. I've heard Ann Burr, and I think they've all made comments that like it seems like it's becoming white noise, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to, just like Trumpistan is still going to exist even as we move forward. Like that's going to be like the new Rush Limbaugh, like just party of like Trump nuts are going to be going over here. Just like, yeah, whatever he said, sounds great. Yeah. I'm not going to research anything.
Because he's going to start his own media outlet.
He's a religious figure. He's a religious figure. Why do you think he does so well with religious people? He goes, people that have the natural inclination to be like, just tell me that. Okay, you're my dad? Okay, I'll listen.
That seems like everybody now, though. The hero worship is sickening to me, whether it's Obama or Trump. All these people getting upset about a president. How can you represent this guy? He represents the country. Like, he doesn't represent me. He represents you because you let him represent you.
Well, you and I are comics. We're individuals and all that stuff. But you got to tell me. I mean, honestly, I was very critical of Obama when he did the National Defense Act. I was like, this is not cool. I was horrible. And including my hysterical leftist friends, when I was trying to bring it up to them, they couldn't be bothered with it. This is 10 years ago? But but when I heard him speak during the pandemic, I almost brought tears to my eyes to actually be like, oh, that's what it sounds like. I forgot.
A fucking loser.
Just to listen, just to hear in an authority position in our government, right? Because after years of Trumpness, it was nice to like hear like, oh, that's how an adult sounds like. That just like can like.
I love one of the things I appreciated about Trump.
Oh God!
And maybe that's just my mentality of like fuck the president. I don't care what the president has to say. So for me, I was like, give me more tweets. I'm entertained by this. For me, it exposed that. Look, Obama might talk well. He speaks so well. He might speak like an adult, but at the end of the day, he's still a fucking lying, power hungry asshole. Like all of them.
I see your point, and Gad Saad, the Lebanese Jew, who's the hilarious dude, and makes a lot of great points. He the same thing. Like the aesthetics of Trump has turned a lot of people off, and the aesthetics of other people turn them on. But here's where I differ. This is where I start to branch off from that. What I saw, especially during like the civil unrest during the pandemic, is that it actually does make a difference in the successful like functioning of society. How a leader, whether people like you or me need that, how the masses react to what a leader does. And even if they're like on paper, they're doing something, you're like, oh no, I love this. And like, oh, Trump did this thing with Israel and he's creating peace in the Middle East and no one's giving him credit. there are ways that you talk and ways that you egg people into certain things, and you get people worked up in frenzies. And there's a lot more to say, in my opinion, where I've changed over the pandy, where I've seen like, there's a lot more credit I want to give to like a leader that just knows how to talk in uniting.
Maybe,
and knows.
I don't think, I mean, during this time though, I mean, we have unprecedented, well, the COVID, I mean, we've never had anything like this in the history of humanity, you know?
And I hope we don't have it again during my 500-year lifetime.
Well, my problem is though, that it basically
my vitamins.
is, I mean, it's a bad flu. Yes. But now we've got an excuse for any time something comes through the cycle, they can drop this hammer. And Americans have accepted it overall, which is why I'm saying no more. I don't accept any more lockdown bullshit, no more restrictions. You know, people should roundly have people over for Thanksgiving. You know, they were talking, Jake Tapper and Fauci were talking about, well, so Christmas is canceled. It's like, no, Christmas is
the video you're showing
canceled. Yeah, it's insanity.
I personally don't think that all of the people involved are doing a power grab with it. I think that like to
Not
be
everybody.
I've been a team leader in so many situations in my life, and it is extremely frustrating that sometimes the most intelligent people are not the ones you get to even listen to when you're the leader, because you have pitchfork and as we've seen more than ever, pitchfork wielding people from any side, just like zombies coming at you like a George Romero movie. And you have to appease whatever group is like the biggest threat to your civilization or your own family. I mean, look at what was it, the Michigan governor, like their one kidnapper. So at some point, like you're figuring out which group you have to bow down to. Sure, there's opportunists in there. I mean, I see that in government. You can see it in personality. You and I both working in Hollywood, like you see the Trump and the not even just Trump. You see the I need to be a powerful leader of a group and get what my way. Personalities all over the place. There are opportunists just looking for like, how can I manipulate people? And I see that's in there. But overall, I think like I don't think Fauci's an evil dude, and I don't think he's you know, there's a lot of arguments I heard on Altucher Report. Someone was saying like, hey, like we shouldn't let virologists be in charge of the economy. And I'm like, I get that, but they are tied together. Like if you look at the stock market, if you look at jobs, like if people are fucking terrified, it's a Russian roulette game with the virus, right?
But you get into the whole chicken or the egg. Why are they terrified? They're terrified because they've been told this thing is coming to eat their souls and it's going to take out their entire families, which is patently untrue.
Thank God
it's got a 99% survival rate.
Thank God, but we don't know what the
shit out of people.
They also didn't know, right? They didn't know what was going on. So they like, if you look at certain people, like Trump didn't scare the shit out of people, and everyone's pissed that he didn't warn everyone.
Happy.
So you
I thought his approach was the right approach personally. In that,
and I didn't, but we could have a whole other episode. I feel like we need to talk for like 4 hours.
I know. I definitely have you back on, because I know here, finish your point here. Then I want to talk about one comedy thing for 2 minutes, because Conan O'Brien is ending his late night show, which I think is interesting.
I thought that was a trip too.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I this is what I was going to ask you is like, what do you think about this migration? So, you know, typical TV, everything we knew and especially comedically inclined, you know, grew up with is kind of migrating away from it. He's going to HBO Max with a variety show concept, I guess, which we don't know what it's going to be. But I mean, what do you think about that? Like, is the death of late night TV? Is it a death of traditional comedy now? Like, what do you think's happening in the world, man?
I think stand-up comedy, until AI changes the face of what it is to exist, which will probably happen in the next 40 to 200 years, right? Yeah. So the predictable future, I think stand-up is here to stay, and it's going to keep adapting, which has been so inspiring to me. Like Jesus Trejo and Stephen Briggs were two of my earliest friends that were like doing these, like they were like opening for like huge comics on these drive-in theaters, and like
yeah.
Oh, dude, I was like, and it just warmed my heart, because that's one of the things I love, like in that Jocko Willink, like adapt and overcome, like 5-second funeral. It's okay to feel bad. Give yourself a few seconds and then adapt and overcome. And to see a non-biological life form like comedy, a thing, a culture, a microculture, adapt and overcome warmed my heart. I barely do stand up anymore, but many of the people I love are still relying on it as their antidepressant, for God's sake. Yeah, I just want to see fucking Jesus out there doing what he was born to do. And so when he tells me like, dude, I just did a show in front of fucking 200 cars and they were flashing their lights at me. It brought me so much joy. I was like, dude, comedy's going to be fucking fine. I saw in New York, they were doing it like at a baseball field. And I was like, comedy's going to be fine. The economy around it, I don't know how they're going to figure all that shit out.
Yeah. Because like Quibi just went tits up.
Who did?
Quibi. Remember that? Like they had the short. Yeah, well, I think they just.
I knew it was going to go Quibi. You told me the name of it again. Like that should be a character in Rick and Morty. Like that's not a fucking name for a channel, dude. Have you ever, you worked with some of the Hollywood people that you're just like, how do you drive a $200,000 car? You're not even smarter than me. I thought you were smarter than me this whole time.
Up. Just like politics, man. Everybody fails up in Hollywood and politics. That's why the politics and the Hollywood are so in bed with each other.
Dude, when my first writing job, I remember working at it and being blown away. I was at these pitch meetings with Real Battle got me this gig, and like I'm like so excited, and I'm imagining that these people must be so smart. They must know comedy so well. And I was like, we just got out of this meeting. I was like, that guy is such a fucking hack. Like he's like 20 years in the past and not funny. And he just told me his idea, and like I was like, is this for real? Like I really imagined like everybody was like Larry David
just
and fucking
ideas. Yeah, just everybody's laughing, bending over, and then you see shit like The Big Bang Theory. You like the shit you see coming out on network TV is so atrocious that I don't understand it. I don't understand it either, man. And to your point, I shake my head and say, who the fuck is hiring these people? Because you know it's so hard to get in, and it's like. I don't get it.
It's its own ecosystem. There's a lot of stuff to balance and negotiate. And if you do one production, so I never worked in like big movie productions, but in commercial production, one little commercial production that's maybe 1 to 3 days to film with a 50 to 100 person crew. There's so many variables constantly changing in that. You can only imagine how weird it is to set up Game of Thrones and be like, oh my God, it worked out well. And then, like, what was that other HBO show, the one with the cruise ship, and had all these amazing, it had Josh Gad and the dude from House.
Awful show.
It had so many awesome actors. The theme of it was going to be fucking great. My wife and I were so excited. I was like, it's sci-fi. It's on a cruise ship. It's comedy. Josh Gad's in it. Holy shit. All these great actors.
Yeah, Hugh Laurie was in it. Yeah.
Hugh Laurie. That's what I was talking about. And it was such a train wreck shit show.
Awful.
And no offense to the listeners, if you're listening and you created that show, great. I know you tried. And
yeah, right. They don't listen to this show.
It's very hard to sculpt these things as it's like a water willy. It's like jumping away from you as you're sculpting it. Arrested Development, the new season was a great example. Like it went from being the dopest show ever to like, hey, like, what ingredients did you put in this time? Did you bake it at the same temperature? Because something's off. It's very hard to do.
Man, that happens with a lot of shows. I think anytime they take a break, like Futurama is a show I grew to love immensely.
Yeah.
Right? The later seasons, though, they just don't cut it. There's like, again, hacky jokes. There's one, I swear to God, there's one fucking somebody's nephew in the writer's room that keeps putting these hacky jokes in later episodes where it's like he has Garfield-itis and he's sitting there, with cat stripes and goes, I hate Mondays. A joke everybody could see coming. Well, the hackiest, terrible joke. And it's like they lost the ingredients. They lost the magic mix.
Well, dog, I don't want to blame them because here's the thing. Sometimes, or not sometimes, when you mix commercialism with art, it brings out the best in art and it brings out the worst. So it brings out the best because it makes people like myself who used to have a major problem of like being paralyzed and like, I can't, it's not perfect. I can't release it. It gives you deadlines. It gives you accountability to other people that are waiting for their paycheck, for their teams and their departments that need stuff. So you just have to move stuff along. So it's a blessing in that sense. But someone mentioned in an interview about like British shows. They do 3 seasons. Mighty Boosh did 3 seasons that were fucking amazing. Every episode of Mighty Boosh, in my opinion, is just like the best TV ever. Yeah. And then it just ends. And it's like, dude, I would love a 4th season. But at the same time, like they ended it on a high note. And it was just like, it was fucking great. And in America, we're like, keep pushing. Like Office, dude. It's like Office was amazing for 4 seasons. Yeah. And then it gets like, just like, oh man.
Simpsons.
Like
God, the Simpsons.
Simpsons, dude. Simpsons is older than...
Atrocious. Yeah, it's like older than most people listening to this podcast. One show, have you seen Peep Show? It actually I think is still going. Hilarious.
I see them.
Comedy.
I see the memes for it every now and then. They pop up in my feed, and I'm like, I would love the show because the memes are hilarious. I love British humor, dude. I got an English family. It's in my blood. I fucking love English humor.
There you go. They're like, we're good to have you here. The Jews were lenders in the old country of England. You're like, yes, thank you. Every Christmas you bring that up. Thank you very much.
Every Christmas.
A little note on the card. All right, well, John, I know you got to eat with their family.
I do.
Parting words. Anything you want to wrap the show up? And I do think we should have another episode sometime soon because this is a lot of fun, and we obviously have a lot more to say.
I 100% agree with you there. So let's do this again ASAP. Thanks for having me, man. Seriously, this kind of conversations, this is what gives me faith. And what I hope, like when we have instead of us just like riffing like this on the phone, when people are listening to it, this is what gives me faith that like, even if you and I don't agree on every little thing, but like common humanity, you're a diplomatic human. I'm a diplomatic human. That's all it takes for me. Then I'm like, oh, we're friends. That's why I have friends of all over the political spectrum, and I love all of them. And I'm like, as long as you're not violent, dude, like
or Asian,
got to put the comedy in here, folks. There was a punchline. If they cut that sound. They cut that soundbite out. One of your listeners is like, I'm thinking about starting up cancel culture, trying to reignite it. I'm going to cut a soundbite out. They don't like Asians. Well, you and I are not getting on SNL anytime soon.
I was just going to say, we're Shane Gillis.
Did you listen to that whole conversation? The Shane Gillis one?
I listened to like a good amount of it. And I was like, again, it's like that because I had no problem with it. I was like, whatever, it's fine.
I was like, wait, they were actually making some funny points because I have friends and people in my family that are Thai. I have like all these different races in my family. And I'm like, yeah, they're like this, dude. So the first time I ever encountered racism in real estate was actually showing a Mexican couple a house. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe the racist shit that they're saying. And I was so is it racist to say that certain Mexican people are racist? Like, again, and Asian hysterical people.
I swear to God, the most racist are Asian. Like different Asian races hate each other predominantly, and also have some racism in them.
Which is why we need to move ourselves to a post-racial world, so that my young children grow up in a world where they don't look at. Did you ever hear that thing someone was talking about where this kid that was homeschooled to a certain age, and then they put him in public school, and they asked him to draw a black person, and he drew a ninja. And it was, and they were saying like, what an achievement. Like the parents didn't teach their kids that like races are made up. Like we're not different races. Like we're all part of the same species. And people that tried to divide us a long time ago invented race to say one race is better than another. We're just all part of this different species. Some of us have different genetics with different nose shapes. And my penis is huge because I'm Jewish. But that doesn't mean, I'm just joking. I have a very meat and potatoes, regular, just American humble penis. Anyways, I think we need to go to a post-racial world. So that would be great. But having these conversations was what gives me faith in my fellow humans, and knowing that like someone's listening to this and they can be a total crazy socialist and be like, hey, those are some great points. Maybe I can have in my pie chart of a heart a slice that can be libertarian, and that can grow. And maybe someone that's listening to this that's a hardcore libertarian can say, hey, some of these people that believe in like socialized medicine, maybe they're not like fucking total crazy communists, or like, I'm like me. I love guns and the right to bear arms. I love freedom of speech, but motherfucker, I'm wearing my mask, dog. I believe in science. So that's what I want, is just to mix it up and blend a little more.
Well, for sure. And that's where it's like the approach, I think, always has to be, and I talked to a lot of people about this, different approaches for different people. And, when I talk to liberals, I try to talk to them about things and say, look, we're all on the same team. We want people to live. We want people to survive. We want people to have food on the table. We want people to be successful and be safe.
I want humans to thrive.
We want humans to thrive. Yeah. We just have different ways of going about it. And for me, I think that the libertarian approach is one that honestly hasn't been tried yet. So I think that, we know which ones don't work. It's what we're doing. So let's try something different. Yeah. And people tend to be a little bit more open to that approach, I think.
And try like a slice of libertarian action in your life. So you don't have to worry about
rhubarb pie, man. You don't know what rhubarb is, but you still try it at Thanksgiving.
Just try a slice. It's just like in being what do you call it when you're in the moment, when you're present, right?
Passionate.
When you learn about being passionate, but being present in the moment.
Says I never am. Yes.
You're not. She says you're never passionate. I get that I'm never serious. I'm like, did you listen to my podcast with Brian? I was serious for like fucking 40 minutes. No, dude, like just approaching it like you would approach mindfulness and being present. It's like, it's okay. You don't need to change. You don't need to call up and change your voter registration. You don't need to start telling your friends you're a libertarian or you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. Just try it. Learn a little bit about this, your neighbor, your fellow American or your fellow human, and say, oh, what would be a libertarian stance on that? Maybe that's not so bad. Yeah. And just do that. And I think that would just make the world better for all of us to try those things out and just stay diplomatic, stay peaceful, stay grateful that we live in a great society, and we'll keep progressing. And I have faith in it. I have faith in it. There's just too many great people that I've been blessed to know.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you. We talked about it, but tell everybody specifically where can they find you on Twitter, on I don't know if you're on Parler or your website, your podcast, etc.
I almost joined Dave Rubin's Locals, but I'm too lazy. And the more I see the crazy people going to it, the more I'm just like, you know what? I don't need any more social media. But good for you guys for doing a free speech platform. Parler, just all I've heard is the stand-up jokes about it, so I have no idea. But no, guys, just
oh my god, my dog howling.
No, I love that. Dude, we're recording at home. It's a pandy going on. You're gonna have your dog.
Sorry, I had to mute my mic. It's like my wife went. I swear to God, I'm a murderer.
Don't feel bad about a dog barking, Brian. This is what adds novelty to this. That we'll listen to this in 20 years, and be like, dude, we recorded during the pandemic and it was so cool.
They had dogs before we had to eat them all because the great famine, the Biden famine of 2021.
The Biden famine. You shut the fuck up with your negative prophecies. Don't do self-fulfilling prophecies. We're going to be fine. Biden won't be able to remember to do whatever he needs to do to create a famine. Don't worry. He'll be like,
Wait, but I'm going to mute my mic while you give where
you don't have to mute your mic. I literally have had my cat jump on my face while doing a buyer's consultation through Zoom, and the clients still became my clients, and I still sold them a house. Everything's fine with the dog barking. Guys, if you want to find me, just the best thing you can do is go and subscribe to Fantasy House Podcast. It's on all the places that you can get a podcast, Apple Music and all that stuff. It's MTV Cribs Imaginary style. So we go on tours through people's limitless cartoony Rick and Morty style fantasy homes. It's fantastic. Fantasy House Podcast, guys. I really appreciate it.
Soon to have a Brian McWilliams.
Oh, I can't wait, dude. With your fleshlight room, you weirdo. I'm like, you can have any technology you can have any technology you want. You can have the Jude Law, the female Jude Law of your house, and you can make love to her. You're like, no, just a room with fleshlights.
Well, and the question is, too, just to end on this high note, do I have to alternate between fleshlights and dildos up when I roll around so I can go dick to hole, dick in a hole, dick in my hole, dick in a hole, and just roll around in the room and just, well, anyway, that will save that for the
two rooms. You can have a room for each, dude.
There you go. All right. Well, Jon Shefsky, a prince among men. Do listen to Fantasy House, everybody. And John, I will talk to you soon, my brother. Great to see you.
What a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Peace. All right, there you go. That wraps it up with Jon Shefsky. Guys, at the end of this episode, I want to remind you, we've got 3 shows here at Lions of Liberty Podcast. Of course, mine is the most popular because I am hilarious and insightful. But don't forget, Mark Claire is on Mondays with the flagship Lions of Liberty show. Also, we've got John Odermatt with Felony Fridays, wrapping it up every Friday, looking at the criminal justice system and the problems therein. And we're going to be doing a special show at the end of the month where we answer your questions that you posted in your 5-star reviews. Only 5-star reviews get answered, but you posted on iTunes. We will read your question. We will answer your question. So make sure to do that within the next few days if you want to make the cut and get on this special show where me, Mark, Odie, maybe a couple of the other Lions will be answering your questions. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share the show. I saw some people give us a nice shout out on, people ask, what libertarian podcast are you listening to? Shit, post it anywhere when people say, what general podcasts are you listening to? Because that really helps us as we continue our upward trajectory into 2021. All right, guys, thanks from me, Brian McWilliams, from the Lions of Liberty and from Electric Liberty Land. Always stay plugged into liberty.